today we are looking at sum and difference identities for tangent. So there's two equations that we need to know for tangent. One where a and b are being added together and one where a and b are being subtracted. So for problem number one, where we start off with the expanded form, this means that we're looking at the right side, figuring out which equation it matches to, and then turning it into the left side. So in this case, you can see that there's a plus in the numerator and a minus in the denominator, and that's going to tell you which of these to use because the only difference between these is where your plus and your minus are. So because the plus is on top, this is telling us we're going to use equation number one, and here is my a and here is my b, and so I can rewrite this as tangent of a plus b, and since a is pi, this is pi plus b is pi over 4. So now I'm going to add together pi plus pi over 4. So right now pi is pi over 1, and I need them to have the same denominator for me to be able to add them together. So I'm going to multiply my first fraction by 4 over 4 so that they can have the same denominator. So this turns into 4 pi over 4 plus pi over 4. And when you add these together, the denominator stays the same, and we have 4 pi plus pi, which gives us 5 pi. And now because 5 pi over 4 is a number, we can actually find the tangent of this value. So we're starting off by drawing the picture for tangent. 5 pi over 4 is in the third quadrant, because this is 4 pi over 4, and one more is 5 pi over 4. Because it's in the third quadrant, all students take classes. It's going to be a positive value because tangent is in the third quadrant. And our reference angle here is pi over 4. So if you look at your chart, tangent of pi over 4 is 1. And so this is just a positive 1, and that's our answer. For number 2, now we're starting off with the left side of our equation. So we have tangent of a plus b. And so this is equation number 1. We're first going to rewrite it using the right side of the equation. So this is tangent A plus tangent B over 1 minus tangent A tangent B. And in this problem, they've actually given you what tangent A and tangent B are. Okay, so tangent A is 1/3, so I'm going to replace tangent A with 1/3. Plus tangent B is 1/2, and then I have 1 minus tangent A times tangent B, so this is 1/3 times 1/2. So I can rewrite this as 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 2 is 6, so that bottom fraction right here is 1 over 6. So now because this is a fraction within a fraction, what I actually want to do is multiply everything by the LCD. This is something from our very first unit. So my least common denominator here, my denominators are 3, 2, and 6. And so my LCD for this problem is 6 because all three of these numbers can be divided into 6. So what I'm going to do is multiply everything in the numerator and the denominator by the LCD, which is 6. So I'm going to multiply 6 times 1/3. So 1/3 times 6 is actually the same as 1/3 times 6 over 1. And we can simplify this by dividing both of these by 3, so this turns into a 1, this turns into a 2, and this just leaves us with 2 over 1, which is just 2. Alright, so this is 2 plus we have 1/2 times 6 over 1. We can divide 2 by 2, which gives us 1, divide 6 by 2, which gives us 3, so this is just 3 over 1. Alright, 6 times 1 is just 6. Minus 1/6 times 6 over 1. The 6's cancel out, so this just leaves you with 1. And so now our very last step is just to simplify. So we have 2 plus 3 is 5. 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and that's our answer for part A of number 2. For part B, we're doing something similar, but now, because it's A minus B, we're going to be using equation number 2. Again, the only difference here is that instead of a plus, we have a minus on top, and at the bottom, instead of a minus, we have a plus. So since this is the same problem, this is still number 2, we're replacing them with the same numbers. So we still have 1/3, but now we're subtracting 1/2. 1 plus 1/3 times 1/2, which again we can simplify and make 1/6. So your LCD is the same thing here, because we have 3, 2, and 6 in your denominator, so we're still going to be multiplying everything by 6. And our numbers are going to turn out to be the same. Again, the only thing that's changed is the plus or the minus. So now this is 2, because 6 times 1/3 is still 2, minus 3, and then 6, and this is a plus sign now, plus 1. So when we simplify, this turns into 2 minus 3 is -1, 6 plus 1 is 7, and this is my answer for B. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing now for number 3, but with some more complicated numbers. So for part A, we're still using tangent of A plus B, so this is our first equation. So we're going to rewrite this using the right side of my equation, and again, don't need to memorize these are going to be up on the chart in the classroom. And so now here are the values that we're plugging in. Tangent of A is -2/5, tangent of B is 4/7, so this is -2/5 plus 4/7 over 1 minus -2/5 times 4/7. So again, we're going to first multiply out this fraction. So the numerator doesn't change. What happens here, because this is minus and negative, this actually turns into a plus, because the two negatives cancel each other out. What this number turns into, 2 times 4 gives you 8 in the numerator, 5 times 7 gives you 35 in the denominator. And now if we look at our denominators, 5, 7, and 35, our LCD is 35. So it's pretty simple to see that this number is usually going to be our LCD, because we're going to be multiplying these two numbers together to get to this one. So again, we're going to be multiplying everything by the LCD, which is the 35. So we're first going to start by multiplying -2/5 times 35, which we can divide this by 5. So 5 divided by 5 gives you 1, 35 divided by 5 gives you 7. So this is actually going to leave us with -2 times 7, which is -14. And then we have 4/7 times 35. We can divide the 7 and the 35 by 7, so this one gives us 1, this one gives us 5, and that leaves you with 4 times 5, which is 20. So that's what we have in the numerator. In the denominator, we have 35 times 1, which is just 35. And then 8/35 times 35 over 1. And in this case, the 35's just cancel out. And so we're just left with 8/1, which is just 8. And again, this is turned into a plus because of these two negatives. So our last step is just to simplify. -14 plus 20 gives us +6. 35 plus 8 gives us 43. We can't simplify that any farther, so 6/43 is our final answer. Okay. So now we are going to do part B, which is now just using equation number 2 instead of number 1 because it's subtraction. So again, we're using the right side of this equation, which is right here. Tangent A minus tangent B over 1 plus tangent A tangent B. And we're plugging in the same values that we did for part A. So this is -2/5, but now it's -4/7. And this is 1 plus -2/5 times 4/7. And just like in A, we're going to first multiply these two together to give us one fraction. And in this case, this plus and minus actually means that this is going to be subtracting, right? Because this is just one negative means this is subtracting. And this is 8/35. You could also leave this plus a negative, it means the same thing. Our LCD is still 35, so we're multiplying everything by 35 yet again. And for part B, we've actually multiplied each of these numbers by 35 in the first part, right? We did negative 2/5 times 35. That gave us negative 14. But now we're subtracting 4/7 times 35, which gave us 20. And over here we have 1 times 35, which is still 35. Excuse me. And then we have 35 times 8 over 35, which we know is 8, but in this case it's a minus 8, or plus a negative 8. So when we simplify this, negative 14 minus 20 gives us negative 34. 35 minus 8 is going to give us 27. And again, we can't simplify that any farther, so we are left with negative 34 over 27. Okay, one last problem. So we're starting off with tangent of 7 pi over 4 plus x. So because it's being added, this is equation number 1. So we're going to expand this. So I'm going to write down the right side of equation number 1. And I'm going to plug in my a and my b. So here's my a, here's my b. So it's tangent of 7 pi over 4 plus tangent of x over 1 minus tangent 7 pi over 4 times tangent of x. So we know that tangent of x is 1/4. The other thing we need to know here is what tangent of 7 pi over 4 is. And we can figure this out by drawing this and using our chart. So if this is pi, which is 4 pi over 4, then this is 8 pi over 4. So 7 pi over 4 has to be in the 4th quadrant. All students take classes in this quadrant. Tangent is negative, so this is going to be a negative tangent. And my reference angle, the distance between 8 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4, is pi over 4. Again, in my chart, I will be looking at tangent of pi over 4, which is 1. So I end up with negative 1 as my tangent of 7 pi over 4. So now that I know that tangent of x is 1/4 and tangent of 7 pi over 4 equals negative 1, I can plug both of these into this equation. So tangent of 7 pi over 4 I know is negative 1, plus tangent of x is 1/4 over 1 minus tangent of 7 pi over 4, which is negative 1, times tangent of x, which is 1/4. So this gives me negative 1 plus 1/4. Over here I have 1 minus a negative, again turns into a plus, and 1 times 1/4 is 1/4. And in this case my LCD is just 4 because that's the only thing in my denominator, so I'm going to multiply everything by 4. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, plus 1/4 times 4 over 1. They're just going to cancel each other out and then leave you with 1. 4 times 1 is 4. Again, 1/4 times 4 is again 1. And so I'm left with negative 4 plus 1, which is 3, over 4 plus 1, which is 5. And that is my final answer.